What up? Hello to Lorenzo Lopez, Good Vibes, Wes, Yachi, Johnny Pearson, Shady on Fire, Cody, Lennon, and I think that's everybody. Hello, hello. Fix my camera here. I gotta fix my camera, put it in the proper place. Nope, now it's too low. My head. Let me sit up straight here. No, it's a little too low. Let's just go a little bit higher. All right. Get that back over there. Get this over here. Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? Hold on, I gotta get my dang pillow. Let's see, am I still too? No. All right. That'll have to do it. Doggeroni says, I didn't know you could draw, Steven. This should be interesting. Interesting indeed. Am I loud enough? If only I was as good at Elden Ring as I am at drawing, I would have a much better career on my hands. Much easier life. Just going to be doing some simple color sketching today. At least that's what I'm feeling like at the start here. As always, I reserve the right to change my mind. Is that Uma Thurman you're drawing? Yes. Last Ania says, you and the artists of Arcane and Spider-Verse and Modern Day James are the only ones motivating me to keep making art, because AI could never do what you do. I'm happy to help. And I'm in good company, clearly. You've put me in a potent pantheon. Johnny Pearson gives $10. Thank you, Johnny. What a way to get back into it. See what Johnny says. Hey, Stephen, how are you? What kind of paper do you recommend for graphite pencil? I'm sure you've answered the question a ton. I'm just not remembering. I sculpt mainly, but would like to draw for supplementation. My preferred paper is Strathmore 400 series bristle paper smooth. Here, I'll pull it up for you. There's like Jerry's Artorama or something like that. Oh, that's the drawing version. I want to bristle smooth. The hell is that? This is the one. This is my preferred paper. It is not, it's easy to get it confused with this one on the right here, the Strathmore drawing paper. I don't like this one. Even the smooth surface, it's a little too thin for my taste. It's a little too textured for my taste. The smooth is pretty smooth, but it's not nearly as smooth as bristle paper. This is my preferred paper, the bristle style smooth surface. The bristle comes in two surfaces, vellum and smooth. Technically, it also comes in plate, but that's much rarer to find. Plate is even smoother than smooth. It really does come down to personal preference, though. Most artists, they either like textured or smooth paper, and they can't stand the other. And what side of the divide they land on is just completely based on their temperament. The vellum version of the bristle paper might be what you want to go with if you find that you like more textured papers. If you can't find that where you are, hot press watercolor papers I've also enjoyed drawing on. Watercolor paper is, well, it's made for watercolor, but the working surfaces of a hot press paper, hot press means smooth when you're talking about watercolor, they're very good for pencil drawing as well. It's very high quality paper. And those are really the only two things I've ever truly, genuinely enjoyed for pencil drawing. All other papers to me are compromises, but on some nice, Winsor Newton hot press watercolor paper, or on the Strathmore 400 series, that doesn't feel like a compromise. That's good paper to me. Stephen, I didn't know you do art. I just started. Just thought I'd pick it up. Simon says, yes, for pencils, the paper needs some teeth. Yeah, see, I don't agree with that. I'm fine with a completely digital smooth paper. The Strathmore bristle smooth is not actually as smooth as paper gets. Smoothness is not the only criteria I have. There's smoother papers, but the ones that I've tried, they don't take abuse as well. Getting the surface that smooth makes it so that you can erase less, and that's not a trade-off I'm willing to accept. I need a lot of flexibility to change things. Because I like working without a preset plan. And if you're going to do that, you need to be able to change things. If you like doing transfers, you know you like working with a preset plan, a very tight plan for your finished drawings. Much easier than to use a paper that is thinner. If that's your preference for paper, cheaper stuff, sketch paper. If you're not going to make any mistakes, there's much more tolerance for using cheaper papers. But you're going to make mistakes. Let's be real, man. Not you in particular, Johnny Pearson. I mean, the royal you. Everyone. Humankind in general. Johnny says, I'll have to learn my preferences, I suppose. You will. That's going to be important. To be very clear, any effect of rendering is possible on either smooth paper or rough paper. A lot of people say it's easier to get a smooth render on rough paper. I haven't personally found that to be true, but I also hate rough paper, so that makes a lot of sense. And the people who are saying that do get excellent renders, so I have every reason to believe them. So I wouldn't say it's easier, but I have certainly proven to myself that, yes, an equal level of rendering is possible on toothy paper or smooth paper. So neither one gates any particular technique. I hope my AC in the background isn't too loud for you guys, but it has been, ridiculously hot in New York lately. Yesterday was bad. My seasonal aggression was in full force yesterday. The humidity was record-setting. Did you finish the DLC, Stephen? I did not. Is this a painting of yourself? All paintings are. All portraits are self-portraits. Always. Doesn't matter how far you're trying to take it. If you're a man and you're painting a woman, self-portrait. If you're a woman and you're painting a man, self-portrait. If you're a man painting a monster, self-portrait. If you're a man painting your dog, self-portrait. Every single time. There's no avoiding it. Even if you've managed to get the likeness of a celebrity or something like that, self-portrait. Same as it ever was. I'm using a 5H right now. Can you comfort me whilst I delve into the darker pencil, Stephen? Absolutely not. For such a vile and preening generation, no comforts shall be given. How do people become masters at art? Asked Mizubi. It's worse than you could ever imagine. The true answer to that is so upsetting that it cannot be spoken online. Did you enjoy the Elden Ring DLC? I think it's great. I'm not done with it, but I think that's going to take a while because I got very busy. I can't be playing much. Where I left it, I'd beat a couple bosses, but I was definitely still in the exploration phase. I think I have 2 zones left to find, like map fragments left to find. For this one, I'm looking at a little a stupid photo I took of myself on a walk yesterday morning. I've got that open on my iPad over to my left. I'm not literally trying to do a self-portrait. I'm going to try to turn it into something else. Let's see. Maybe we'll make it I'm just trying to get the shadow shapes from it. Maybe I'll turn it into a lizard man or something. Yeah, let's try to make it green. Daryl Grant says, sometime back, maybe 2 years ago, you said one of few contemporary living artists who surprised you with their work was a woman with an O or a U name. Olga, I think? Who is she? I can't say I remember. Let me see. I'm just going to go to Instagram and type in Olga and see if anyone pops up. Well, I follow quite a few very good female painters who are named Olga, but I'm not sure I would classify these as surprising. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's long enough ago now that I don't remember. And I'm very bad with artist names in general. I always remember their work, but I also always forget their freaking names. Lassie says, sorry for the medium question, but I'm a bit confused when it comes to brush settings. You have your opacity and flow at 100, but your round brush is still transparent. How? I'm using a drawing tablet, so the opacity is automatically changed by how hard I press on the tablet. You're my favorite Elden Ring streamer. I can't believe you can draw as well. It's true. Stephen, have you done much pen and ink drawing? I've been looking through 2 giant Alex Toth art books, and it blows my mind thinking about that level of inking. Yes, I've done a lot of pen and ink. Alex Toth is awesome. Cause I want it now, I want it now. Give me your heart and your soul. I want it now, I want it now. Hi, puppy, yes, I know. I know, who's a good girl? Oh, shit, I didn't feed you. I'm sorry, give me 1 second, I gotta feed my dog. Come on, you did good. Who's a good girl? You did good. Fate is driving me insane. It's forcing me to face. I must kill or be killed. Thank you, Autumn Rose. The tricky thing about doing weird flesh tones like green and blue and red is designing the color temperature variations. You know, you've never seen a green person, so we don't really have a natural visual library in our head of what the color temperature variations would look like on such a skin tone. When they do a really good, when special effects have like a weirdly colored person, like Hulk in the Marvel movies or something, they always do a good job of getting the color temperature variations into the skin tone to make it feel natural, instead of like a person with a normal skin tone who's covered in green paint. Steven, do you experience flow when you run? I personally zone out sometimes. I zone out, sure, but I also have experiences of flow in there, sure. But I think zoning out and flow are different. You know, flow is a very connected state. It's extremely peaceful, but in a sense, it's very, very in the action. But zoning out, and we're just talking syntax here, right? You might not have meant this, but zoning out, when I use that word, that's a very disconnected state. You're sort of thinking about something else, or just your internality has gone very neutral. It's just very, it's like you're on standby mode or something like that. That's quite different from flow. Flow doesn't feel like you're on standby mode. Pedrum says, Stephen, why is Robert Beverly Hale against drawing cast shadows? Marshall Van Druff recommends his book all the time. His books are great. I don't remember him ever saying he's against drawing cast shadows. But it's been a long time since I read those books, so he's probably against drawing awkward cast shadows, which that's definitely a good idea. That's fine. I can't imagine he's truly against drawing cast shadows, because Robert Beverly Hale is very big on using every tool at your disposal to show the form, and cast shadows are a classic way to show the form. You know, you get a cast shadow from an arm going onto a leg, you wrap that, you know, let me just sketch it real quick. Here's an arm, right? Ooh, yeah, arm town. There's a deltoid, yeah, looking good. So that's the arm. It has a form shadow on the bottom. And then there's anatomy, and there's a leg down here. You know, it's a leg because I'm drawing the kneecap. And this leg is over here, and the leg is cylindrical, right? It has that profile, that kind of surface. So then you could imagine the cast shadow from that arm sort of following those cylindrical curves exactly, and then that helps you explain the shape of the leg. And Robert Beverly Hale loves that stuff. In drawing lessons from the great masters, he's always pointing out times when the old masters use things like that to great effect. So he's probably pro these, and what he's against is awkward cast shadows. Stuff like, instead of designing that cylindrical shape, if you just sort of like, you know, and life can give you weird shapes, sort of got like a weird angle like that doesn't really follow the perspective. Maybe he's against that, you know, because that kind of confuses the perspective instead. He said it's like holes in the form. He said no professional artist draws the cast shadow of the nose on the bottom of it. Well, that's just patently untrue. Many a great painting has the little Hitler mustache underneath the nose going from the cast shadow. So now, Pedrum, it is up to you. What god will you serve? Will you enslave your artistic taste to these wise but ancient words, or will you cut your own path? Hey, James. James says, who the fuck said that? Some fool named Robert Beverly Hale. We're like Robert Beverly over the hill. Am I right? Am I right? You're right, James. Of course you're right. Dude, your frame rate is dropping? I see I dropped about 500 frames all of a sudden. I don't know what that's about. That's not that bad. Should be all right, right? Oh, am I streaming in 4K? I think I forgot to change the settings from when I was streaming Elden Ring. That's 4K output. Oh no, I guess I did. When did I do that? I don't remember doing that. Maybe there was some day I was thinking of streaming and set it up and then decided better of it, thought better of it. I thought these fools, they don't deserve this. They don't deserve this stream. They don't appreciate me. All they ever want to do is try to talk me into drawing anime girls. They never want to talk about anything serious. I'm not even going to go on stream. Circle Door says, is this your first art stream? Yeah. No. No. Man, I guess I should tell the truth. There's over 100 streams on this channel alone. And I used to stream before I ever had this account. So, yeah, you might say I've done a few art streams. Yeah, I watched them all. Hi, Barbie Burninator. No problem. No problemo. Wes says, been going through an extremely tough mental health struggle for a long time now. I really need to power through the problems I have because I have no other choice, and it's rather disheartening. And then says, the tortured artist trope called and it wants me back. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Wes. Look, we've all had to fulfill the tortured artist trope at some point. It happens. But it's not forever. You certainly don't need to be tortured to make art. I wish you the best with your mental health. And if powering through is the only way, I wish you luck powering through as well. Are you doing Shrek? Yes, this is Shrek. I think that should be fairly obvious. It's a little embarrassing that you have to ask, honestly. If I was a better artist, there would be no need to ask, is this Shrek? But alas. Alas, my skills are not yet there. Stephen, do you have any specific drawing books that you like? So many of them are good, but it just depends what you're trying to draw. I mention this book all the time, and I'm probably biased because it was one of the earliest art books I had in the house when I was young, and they had a big impact on me. But I think it's objectively a good drawing book, and it offers something that a lot of the other drawing books don't. It's Drawing the Clothed Figure by Barbara Bradley, who used to be the head of illustration at my alma mater, Art Center College of Design. Actually, I shouldn't say alma mater because I didn't graduate. What's the etiquette on that? I went to Art Center for 4 years, but I didn't graduate. Can I still say it's my alma mater, or do you only say a school is your alma mater if you graduated from there? Does it count that I taught there, even though I didn't graduate? But Drawing the Clothed Figure by Barbara Bradley is a great drawing book for a lot of the things that people are interested in drawing today. You know, obviously it's focused on figure, but as far as I'm concerned, it's like the only book on drawing clothes that actually teaches how to draw clothes. Like a lot of people will point at what passes for an education in drawing clothes these days online is a couple chapters from George Bridgman explaining the 7 types of folds. Brother, I wish that was it. It's way more complicated than that. And yeah, hers is basically the only book that goes into the complicated side of it. Yeah, it's got the 7 types of folds in there, whatever it is, 7, 8. There's probably an infinite number of types of folds, but it covers the folds. But then there's chapters upon chapters about everything else about clothing, sort of understanding the way different materials work, how they actually contribute to character, and most important, the most unique thing, or the thing that puts that book in a very rarefied category where there's very few other art books, is that book teaches draftsmanship, which very few art books deign to teach, which is unfortunate. It's Robert Beverly Hell's Drawing Lessons from the Great Masters, Barbara Bradley's Drawing the Clothed Figure, and maybe that's it. Very few other books teach draftsmanship. I guess I've never read it, but Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, I guess, technically teaches draftsmanship. Fate has brought us here to face our hopes and dreams erased. I must kill or be killed. Pedrum says, how would you define draftsmanship? Draftsmanship is designing while you draw. Good luck. I cannot elaborate on that in any detail without teaching a 17-hour design class. So. Steven, have you seen Alex Garland's Civil War? I have not. I wanted to, but damn. Convincing my wife to go to the movies is tough these days. Hello, Z. This is how I imagine Gold Mask to look unmasked? Jeez. Hi, Nihal. Voldemort, basically. I didn't intend on it, but basically. Goodbye, Wes. Colin says, hi all, how's my favorite Elden Ring gaming streamer? Nice to see you try your hand at this art thing. I'm sure you can take great inspiration from the game. I'm trying it, you know. I can't get too distracted from my day job of being a professional Elden Ring game streamer, but sometimes it's nice to try new things. Is there any special brush you use? No. I do most everything with the standard hard round brush. It's just the most, to me, it's just for the way I work, it's the most versatile. Because it doesn't like impinge anything onto the art. I can make all my own choices. I'll use, if there's like a particular thing I need to draw, like what I mean, like a material, you know? Sometimes that requires I need to go hunt for a brush that feels right for creating that material. But that's never like, that's not to say like, okay, I have to do tree bark, so I'm going to use a tree bark texture brush. It's not like that. It's just, okay, I need to use tree bark. I'm going to try out a few brushes that that feel right for doing tree bark. And then I'll just use those like one or two brushes back and forth while I do the tree bark. And then I'll go back to the hard round brush. And then the next time I do tree bark, I'll probably pick a different two brushes. Hello, Istabrock. How you doing? Istabrock says, hi, Steven. I was about to stream myself and saw that you were doing one. Hi. Hey, Istabrock. You should still stream. The fans need you, Istabrock. Logo Channel says, such a huge relief to know since every YouTuber tries to sell or give advice about all kinds of special brushes. I mean, for some people, it's very important for their process, but that doesn't mean it's going to be important for your process, you know? People who have been on this stream for a while or who have watched a lot of streams know that they've heard me go on my rant before where I explain that digital tools are kind of stuck in a stage of infancy. Digital painting tools have basically been in their current state since like the 1990s, and they really haven't changed or improved. So all the texture brushes and stuff like that, they're very nice, and there's certainly more complex and sophisticated ones, but there's really only so much we can do with the current tech. Mr. Brock says, I have stage fright right now, LMAO. It's weird how it never quite goes away, right? No matter how many you do. Even though I've done so many of these streams, still, every time I go to hit the button, I always have this little moment where I'm like, yeah, am I really going to do this right now? Yeah, all right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's just a nervous system thing. I think there's like no getting rid of it completely. Weggle says hitting weights that might kill me in the gym is less frightening than streaming art live. That's funny. That's funny until the weights actually kill you. Steven, really want to go to Watts Atelier after I'm done with nursing degree. What are your thoughts on the school? That's from Boomy. I have never been to Watts, so there's really not too much I can say. But I know a lot of people who've gone through there or who have been there, and they've almost universally had positive experiences, so it's probably pretty good. Why do you think digital art is so clunky and underdeveloped compared to the tools that musicians have had for decades? I envy them. I envy them so much while rubbing plastic on plastic and cursing Adobe. It's just because visual artists are broke and they steal everything. So it's just not a market that technologists and entrepreneurs and venture capital people are very interested in investing in or providing products for. Every now and then a niche opens up and they'll try to offer something, someone will go into that niche, but for the most part, it's just not it's not a very energizing environment for the startup. It's like you look at artists as a demographic. It's like, imagine them up on the whiteboard. It's like, all right, how much money do they have? None. How much money do they hope to have? Zero. Very difficult life. What's their relationship to their tools? They feel entitled to them and they think they should all be free. Yeah, about that. I'm not saying change your ways. Never change. I'm just saying that's why digital art as a market is so underserved and underdeveloped technology-wise and tools-wise. The 3D side, they're good. That's a high-energy market. There's always people opening up new niches and stuff like that. Thank you, Starlick. Have you tried using Krita? Dave Raposa works so fast with the brushes on it. I've tried it a couple times, yeah. It seems like a great program. My toxic relationship with Adobe sustains, however. Steven! Steven! Go away, Adobe, you're drunk! Steven, come back! We're good for each other. I'm gonna call the cops, Adobe, I swear to God. I saw what you were doing with all that AI stuff. Oh, come on. You know I just have to... That's just the kind of stuff I gotta do sometimes. I do it for you. I do it for the kids. You gotta find your release somewhere. God, you see? That's exactly it. Fuck you. You don't mean that. You don't mean that. Get off me! You don't mean that. Come here, Steven. Come here. Gentle reminder that this stream is not for kids. Fishflop says, hello, Steven. Is this a new stream timing? No. I was supposed to be doing something else in this time slot for the day. And I opened up the document. I was just like, I'm too tired to do this right now. So I decided to hop on stream instead. The heat's getting to me, man. It is getting to me. You know how some people get depressed in winter? They get seasonal affective disorder, what used to be called seasonal depression. I get seasonal aggression. I'm much happier in winter than I am in summer. I spend summer mad. That was just a joke that it was a serious joke, but, you know, making it giving it a name and all that was a joke that I did for years. And then, like, just a few weeks ago, I saw an article that was explaining that it's a real thing and that they've done tests and that people actually do get angrier in the heat and all these other mental disturbances. And I showed my wife, I was like, I fucking told you. Turns out seasonal aggression is real. We're talking real aggression, like crime goes up. See, Istabrak gets it. Istabrak says I'm much more creative in the fall. For real. Winter, that's when I come alive. In the heat of the moment makes sense. It really does. Decent for your first ever drawing. Thank you. Thank you. Issa Brock says, I wish I could say, Stephen, but I got to go pretend to be an artist on stream. Love your work. Good luck with the heat. Thank you, Issa Brock. Good luck on your stream. Enjoy yourself. Ape with Cat says, love you, bro. You're an inspiration to me, and it's just about art. You are one of the few people that I look up to. Thank you for existing. Aw, thank you. That's very sweet. Happy to help. Stephen, what have you been rereading lately? What have I been reading lately? It's the year of rereads. I've done nothing but reread books this year. I'm a big rereader. Right now, I'm rereading The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. Anyone who's into medieval stuff. Even if you're just into like fantasy, like Game of Thrones or something like that, medieval-based fantasy, European fantasy, I cannot recommend Pillars of the Earth enough. The whole Kingsbridge series is quite good, but Pillars of the Earth is like one of my favorite books ever. I think I've read every book in the series except for one. You know, you can they're all kind of standalone, so, or most of them are. Before that, I was rereading The Passenger and Stella Maris by Cormac McCarthy. Right before I restarted reading Pillars of the Earth, I listened to the audiobook of No Country for Old Men again. Well, I'd never listened to the audiobook before, but I've read the book before. So it still feels like a reread. Have you heard of Reverend Insanity? No, I have not. Have you heard of Hawksmoor? No, I have not. How can I fix the problem where my digital art feels more stiff and awkward than my traditional art? The first question I always ask with things like this is, do you need to fix it? Is there some reason that you cannot just rely on your traditional practice for the life and lack of stiffness? There is a primary medium for most people. There's nothing in the rule book that says you're going to be able to get it in both. It's lucky that you have it in one. Is there some reason that you can't just work traditional at the start to get all the life and then just do your edits or whatever you need to do digital? Hawksmoor is also about cathedrals, and I feel like you would enjoy it. Cathedral-based content. That's my favorite. Kind of insecure about calling myself a painter. I can paint digitally and color traditionally, but cannot do any traditional paints. Dude. Call yourself whatever you want. Nobody cares. And anybody who does care has proven that there is someone whose opinion is really not that important. I mean, if I met you in a bar and you told me, oh, I'm a painter, and I'm like, oh, what kind of paintings you do? And you say, oh, I work digitally. I'd be like, yeah, I get that. I'd be chill as fuck about it. And that's got to mean something, because I'm in this. I'm in this shit, baby. I'm well informed. My industry. Anyone who would get bent out of shape about that is probably what? Your dad. Who cares what your dad thinks? Your dad sucks. Honestly, your dad sucks. Who cares what your dad thinks about digital painting? I mean, your dad's probably cool about other stuff, like when he's on the golf course or whatever, but digital painting? Who cares? He's out of his depth on this one. I mean, like, unless your dad is Craig Mullins or Ruin Gia, he's out of his depth. Like, shut up, Dad. Abe with Cat says, would you still draw if you were the only person on this planet and no one would see your artwork? What I want to know is why you draw. Yeah, I'd still draw. I would draw. I feel like, see, I think everything affects everything. So I'm sure I would draw differently. Like, maybe I would just occasionally scratch a primitive doodle of a human figure in the lost ashes of our smoldering civilization. And maybe I wouldn't push it farther than that, but that's still drawing, right? Mario says, my dad is dead, Steven. Well, so's mine. And he sucked. And he doesn't know shit about digital painting. Love you, Dad. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. But you don't know shit about digital painting. Scott Hebert says, my dad doesn't exist inside my visual field. Valid. Utterly valid. Utterly and completely valid. How's the fight against AI? Are we winning? Are you winning, son? Use glaze, use nightshade. If I had to be perfectly honest with you, I would say we are still in the things are going to get worse before they get better phase. And it depends, like, where you're asking about. I would say things in America are not going so great right now. But there's other places where things are better. I think Europe's doing better than us. And there's good developments on the Dutch side, too. But it depends where you're asking about, you know? Stephen, when learning how to draw, should you learn general or specialize from the beginning? I think when you are learning, I think when you're starting out, you should do whatever energizes you the most. I think that's the most important thing. Like, I think it's actually really unhealthy for, like, a beginner, like a true beginner. I think it's really unhealthy for a true beginner to, like, read some random syllabus online and say, I'm going to spend a year learning perspective, and I suck at perspective, and I never really thought about perspective before, but this syllabus online says I should know it, so I'm going to do perspective, baby. I think that's a horrible idea. I think that you should do the hard things when you're, I think if you're ever going to do periods like that, you do that when you do them when you're an intermediate, when you already have a strong relationship with drawing and you know how to keep it fun. If you do that stuff early on when you're a beginner and you haven't built the fun part of drawing yet, you can literally shatter your art practice with crap like that. And it's not a hypothetical. It happens to artists all the time. Probably half the people in this chat have nigh unto destroyed their practice with periods like that. But a lot of people aren't going to listen to me on that because a lot of people just do art to be the best. They don't do it for fun. Which I think is a horrible idea, but there's a lot of people like that out there, so they're not really going to take my advice on the whole do the thing that interests you thing. The only advice they're ever going to take seriously is mean dad advice. Just like, well, the only thing that matters in art is being good at art. You're being the best at it. You want to be the best, don't you? Well, if you want to be the best, then you better learn all these things. You better be good at all this stuff. And if you're not good at it, then why the fuck you even doing it? quit. There's a bunch of people in this chat who, even just hearing that in a joking way, it tickled some back part in their brain where they're like, yes, yes, talk to me that way, yes. Why do you think it's such a common mistake? Because in the current era, people do art for all the wrong reasons, basically. There's very few artists with wholesome motivations early on. You know, the ones who have wholesome, useful motivations from the beginning, I mean, they're not asking questions about it. It's just all going along swimmingly. But I mean, there's a million beautiful reasons to make art, but as a symptom of our culture and the way we talk about things online and how artists are treated by society, most people who go on to pursue art are doing it for, instead of those very kind reasons, they're doing it for very flimsy negative reasons. They're doing it out of anger. They're doing it to prove themselves. They're doing it to raise a middle finger at their mom or their dad or their childhood rival. Or so many artists are just like, basically when they were 8, someone offended them about their art, and now they're 38, still trying to prove themselves to this person who offended them as a child and who they probably haven't seen since they were 8 years old. It's like, that's tons of artists. And it's like, well, obviously that's not about the art, right? Obviously that's a different kind of problem. There's no sensible reaction to that other than, come to mama, tell me who hurt you. There's gonna be no future if we don't figure this out. Well, come to mama, tell me who hurt you. But there's not a lot of people who are interested in doing that for artists. I'm interested in it. That's why I'm here. That's why I've been here with all these goddamn videos for all these years. But there's only so much one man can do. Brody says art frauds. See, that's the thing. They're not frauds, right? Like, art is so structureless that you can't say it's like wrong to draw out of anger. And that's why I use specifically words like unwholesome, flimsy. Those are always the words I try to pick my words carefully around that stuff. I often do say bad, but that's not the most weighted word in those descriptions. I try to use words like unwholesome, flimsy motivations to be doing art because, spite and piss can only get you so far, really, right? God help you, life starts going well. Then what are you going to do? You're going to have to find new things to be angry about, and that's not good for the old blood pressure. I like this guy's naughty, twisting forehead. Yeah, I like stuff like that too. Yeah, I like it. That's the kind of stuff I like to put in the random stuff I draw. Welcome to mama. Tell me who hurt you. Bit more of a classic reptilinoid silhouette for the neck here. Reptilinoids. Reptilinoids. Living underground. Eating gold. Going to Mars. Going back in time. What's that song from? The Reptilinoid song? From the classic WB11 Saturday morning cartoon show, Reptilinoids. I loved Reptilinoids. It was so good. It was all about how the West is run by a hidden society of reptilian lizard men from Mars who ingest monoatomic gold and use it to traverse dimensions. And there wasn't really like any like characters other than the reptilian lizard men. And they wouldn't really like, there was no like real plot on reptilinoids, just like 3 or 4 reptilian lizard men would just sort of be on the screen for like a long unbroken cut, and they would just sort of discuss in detail how they were going to manipulate Congress to pass certain laws. It was like I didn't know what C-SPAN was when I was a kid, but now looking back, it felt like a weird, like, reptilian C-SPAN. It was very strange. And I used to go to school every day, and I'd ask other kids if they had ever heard of reptilinoids or ever watched it. And I don't know. It always seemed like I was the only person who was seeing it. Madrigal says, Stephen, what if I love unwise motivations in art? What if I'm a villain? I know you're probably joking, but I've legitimately gotten emails. I have gotten emails from people who, if they're being serious, and I do think they were being serious, yeah, they basically are art villains, and they basically, I'm getting their origin story straight to my inbox. They're out there. It does happen. Goodbye, Cynthia White. Take care. And the good thing about art is that the stakes are very low. The interpersonal stakes. Like, you're not going to hurt anybody with art. The most damage people do in art is when they become teachers. If they have unwise motivations, they impinge those unwise motivations onto students, and either the students go with it and that can knock them off track, right? But also what happens is that when they impinge those unwise motivations and opinions onto students, they'll not just hurt their feelings, but like ruin their practice for years. Like, the students will think that's very, that's the only way to do it, and they'll quit art and things like that. That happens all the time. And that's bad, right? Like I said, that'll ruin a creative thing in someone's life for years sometimes. But beyond that, it's very hard to hurt people with art. It's pretty low stakes. So being an art villain is really not the worst thing that could happen, but it's not good for them. I don't think it's good for the I don't think it's good for the villain. You know, it'd be one thing if they could really sort of inhabit the true villain archetype and just sort of have an extremely energetic evil experience for years, but that's actually quite difficult to do, and it's just not necessary. Okay, here's the thing about being an art villain, right? Where you're sort of saying there's objectively good art. I know what good art is. I know what bad is. I'm learning how to do the good art. The people who don't do the kind of art that I do are stupid and they're fools, you know. Oh, academic art. Wow, I heard about Sargent last year. That's obviously how you have to paint. And if you do abstract expressionism, you're a fool. I figured out that the West is sort of trying to oppress beauty and all of this, like blah, 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 all that horse shit. Going down the skill rabbit hole, thinking being extremely skillful and virtuosic is what's going to make you a good artist, get you attention, fulfill all of your artistic dreams, all of that stuff. All of these, you know, to varying degrees, are the qualities of the classic art villain in the current era. There's, like I said, there's nothing bad about that while it's just motivating you and you're not impinging yourself on others. It does become bad when you impinge yourself on others. And the other thing is that life is going to smack that person across the face, because if they stick with art for long enough, which is very questionable when you have bad motivations like that, but if you do stick with it long enough, you will one day, without a doubt, experience the truth that someone who suffered less than you, who tried less hard than you, who had way more fun than you, and who is way happier than you, is way fucking better at art than you're ever going to be. And they'll wipe the floor with you. And they'll casually destroy that art villain. And they won't even realize they were in a fight. The art villain will, you know, tremble and shake and curse the gods in their bedroom where they do their work and wonder where it all went wrong. And this other person, of which there's no short supply, by the way, there will be many, many millions of this person, will just hand them their ass over and over and over again, and the art villain never has any hope of keeping up. And this will break your mind. This, if you're going to insist on being an art villain, this is where they bounce off the practice. More than bounce off the practice, this is where it ruins their life. Then they become resentful and they start hurting others on purpose and things like that. And that's just not. That is not good. That's really where things get. That's where things really get bad. And the person who was gleefully trying to be an art villain up until that point then has to live the joke where they only thought they were the art villain, and it wasn't until this moment where the deep resent is embedded in their heart that they really became an art villain, and they're never going to enjoy themselves again. They'll never think they were a good artist again. That's really where things get very, very dark, you know. People who like the villainous sort of piss and vinegar version of the art journey, they make a crucial mistake. You know, they think they're going to like themselves through all of this, that the end result is that they're going to like their work. No. The horrible truth is that you're going to hate your work at the end of it. You're going to wind up hating your art and thinking that you suck at it. You're going to have all this skill and you're not going to think you're good. You're going to know you make bad work, and you're just going to hate people who practiced less than you and just have more baseline talent than you and make better work than you, and you'll never be able to touch them. And that'll sap your love for your own very skillful art, and you'll just walk around hating people for the rest of your life. And yeah, it's a total nightmare. It's a total nightmare. So avoid those unwise motivations, if at all possible. If at all possible, dear friends. It is a shame how many people have them. And gleefully have them. No problem, Marashi. Thanks for being here. I never understood that, says Boomy. When I see people who are young and talented now, I see them as a walking gem. Others' art should make you happy too. Yes, it should. It's just very hard for a lot of people. A lot of people have, really suffered with their art. They've put in a lot of time. They've stuck with it through very painful periods. And if your head's not on right, if you've had very energetic experiences around that and you just, you feel like you deserve something from that, it can really just be heartbreakingly painful to see just some young kid or something like that rolling around like, what? I don't know how I got this good. Whatever. I've never had a problem in my life. It's like, again, like you said, that should make people happy. That is a beautiful thing. But it's also understandable how, some people just are not going to be able to handle that the right way if they're thinking about art in a particular way, thinking about themselves in a particular way. You've got to avoid that. Because again, that's just the way art is. That's guaranteed to happen. What if your art don't make you happy because you ain't so good at it? Just remember that it's not weird that you're not good at it. Like, art is hard, and you haven't been doing it long enough to be good at it. Like, there's nothing to feel bad about. You're exactly as good as you're supposed to be. It's not like you're supposed to be a certain amount of good, and somehow you're not. That doesn't make any sense. You are exactly as good as you're supposed to be in relation to your temperament, the amount of practice, the position in your life, how much time you have. Like, it's all quite determined. Like, you are exactly as good as you're supposed to be. Like, don't worry about it. Did you go through your art villain arc? No, thank God I never fell into that. There's always time though. I did I did embody the archetype for a while on TikTok. That was fun. Before my TikTok got banned because the monster butts were too sexy. The moderators over at TikTok in their cubicle were looking at my monster butts and they were like, oh, this is... Obviously, the main purpose of this is utter sexual titillation. This is not the kind of stuff that belongs on TikTok. Look at this monster's butt. This artist Steven's trying to get people to drop trowel right at the middle of work. This is disgusting. Banned. Now this 16-year-old girl dancing for 950 videos, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, let's make that 145% of all the content on TikTok. I really want to see these monster butts. It's literally all the art you've already seen from me. They banned me for the stuff that's on my portfolio site. They banned me for the stuff on stevenzapata.com. And not the dicks. I never showed a penis. Just some titillating monster thigh. A little bit of side butt was too much for TikTok. I drew nothing new for TikTok. I was just showing all the drawings I'd already done. So I got banned for the drawings that are just if you go to stevenzapata.com, that's what I got banned for. Your TikToks were too funny, man. I had fun doing those. But yeah, I knew about the art villain arc. So I had fun doing that on TikTok. But no, I've never actually gotten there myself. I actually have some of the opposite proclivities because I would actually like to be involved with training the next sergeant or something like that. Like I have no... That's a beautiful thing as far as I'm concerned. I think my temperament kind of fortunately saves me from following the classic art villain arc. It's like I would like to find this 10-year-old prodigy and help them. Veer them away from copying photographs and veer them towards their true potential. The 10-year-old prodigies, they've always got them copying photographs whenever you see them on the news. And no one's telling them, you got it. You must move further. You have such amazing potential. You're pretty good at drawing for a gamer streamer. Thank you. James Field says, I started a design project recently like you suggest, and one thing I've been wondering about is when to stop iterating on designs for a creature character and move on to the next one. You can iterate forever. I mean, the time to stop is just, it's determined by your deadline. That's it. You could always iterate forever. Have you played Sekiro? A little bit. It's in my break in case of flu corner. Next time I get sick and I really can't do anything but play video games, I'm playing Sekiro. This looks hella cool. Thank you. Thank you. Zachary says, just chiming in real quick to say you rock and that I'm saving for your course right now. Saw someone's progress on Instagram and was blown away. Oh, I love to hear it. I love to hear it. Thank you so much. I'd like to see that person's progress too. DM it to me on whatever you saw on Instagram. DM it to me on Instagram. I'll see if I actually remember to dig it out of my request later. Cause I want it now, I want it now. Give me your heart and your soul. I'm breaking down, I'm breaking down. Ready to lose control. Have you tried Bloodborne or any of his DLCs? I love Bloodborne. That was the first FromSoft game I played. Actually not. That was the first Souls-like game I played. First, I didn't know it until much later. Until this year, actually. But, no. I've known for a longer time that Armored Core was made by From Software. But I played Armored Core 1, 2, and 3 when I was quite young. Like when they came out. And I also played a couple other From Software games that I didn't know they were From Software games until very recently. I played, what is it called? Dark Kingdoms? 1 and 2. It was like a game where you play as a girl and you throw these cards and monsters come out of them. It's like 3D action combat with cards. I really liked those games when I was a kid. I had no idea those were From Software. No, not Kingsfield. Not their first person dungeon crawling game. It's a different game. You played as a girl with like a long ponytail and you would throw cards on the ground and monsters would come out of them. What would you do if the color green didn't exist? Green already doesn't exist, so just this. Green ain't real. Neither is red, nor yellow. All the qualia are arbitrary, I'm convinced. The world is an illusion, vast emptiness. In the words of the sixth Zen patriarch, from the first, not a thing is. That's not the sixth Zen patriarch, is it? Who said that? From the first, not a thing is. Hui Neng. It was the sixth Zen patriarch. Wait, no, that's just another link. Yeah, of course I want to search Google for Hui Neng. Yeah, Dajian Hui Neng, also commonly known as the sixth patriarch or sixth ancestor of Chan. Chan being Chinese version of Zenya. Sixth Zen patriarch. I think it was called Lost Kingdoms. Yes, that's it. Lost Kingdoms 1 and 2. I'm pretty sure there was 2 of them, right? Leila says, hey, Stephen, I've been kind of stuck lately trying to advance in the art practice. I've been toying with doing a long-term piece, but have been feeling analysis paralysis, feeling like I have to plan forever before beginning. Do you have advice for this? Well, doing a long-term piece, if you haven't done many, is a great way to break out of your rut. I think that was very wise of you to land on that. Yeah, don't plan forever. You've probably already done enough planning to begin. You've got to remember that planning is never the actual thing. Once you start doing it, it always changes on you. And you realize that you didn't quite understand it. It's like, of course not. The map is not the territory, you know? So just go for it. I prefer having less of a plan. I talk about soft planning and hard planning. Some people are soft planners. Some people are hard planners. I'm a soft planner. If my plan is too perfect, it makes it very difficult for me to actually do the piece because I'm bored of it already. The plan is so perfect that I feel like I've already seen the piece and there's nothing like exciting left for me to discover in the actual doing of the piece. That demotivates me, makes me not do the piece. Now, some people feel the exact opposite. They're like, they don't want the stress of discovering things in the piece. The more perfect the plan is so that the execution is sort of by rote, the calmer they feel and the more happy they feel while doing the piece. And so the greater the chances that they will actually do it. It's a temperament thing. Find out which one you are and then sort of lean into it. Knowing that I'm a soft planner means that when I'm doing my planning, I purposefully leave out pieces of information. That not only reduces pressure and saves time, but it's just like that makes it much more likely that I'll actually have some reason to want to dig into the final in a really deep way. Finding out on the piece, doing it live is fun. It's fun and it's allowed. Now, art school, they might not say it's allowed, right? Because to grade you, they're going to say, well, I need to see your thumbnails, I need to see your cartoon drawing, and I need to see your color thumbs, and if I don't see them, then I can't give you an A or a B, and art is gradable, and blah, 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 blah. And I say that with all due respect as someone who has taught art at a very serious art college. But that's just not the way art's going to work for everyone all the time. Duh. So let yourself go. Go. Be free. Be free. Stephen, you ever draw for so long that images just stop making sense? Sure. And then I just let the body take over. I just sit here drunkenly and just make strokes and I just trust the body. Well, I want it now, and I want it now. I've been working on a thumbnail for weeks and just feel like it's not good enough. I think you're right. I'm probably over planning. You can't expect too much from thumbnails. I mean, they're tiny little drawings. They can't actually be like perfectly convincingly beautiful on their own. You know, you just got to accept that it's never going to quite do it. You just got to get in there and do the thing. You know, it's very nice to have a great thumbnail, but do you need to be great at thumbnails or do you need to be great at finished pieces? You probably need to be great at finished pieces, not at thumbnails, right? Also, you know what makes you way better at thumbnails? Knowing exactly what you're looking for from finished pieces. And how do you do that? How do you know that? By finishing a lot of pieces. That's the only way to learn that. Damn, I'm cracking this case wide open right now, aren't I? God damn. I am so good at teaching art. I am the best. I need to catch up on the talks I've been doing lately, but the visual field and perception. But what do you think about people with aphantasia who cannot generate mental images? I feel like I can only create fleeting flashes of images in my mind's eye. I don't think it's important. I don't visualize while I work. I can visualize, but I don't know. I think aphantasia is like an interesting memey current phenomena, but I see absolutely no evidence that it would affect how all artists work, you know? It's like, it's not like everyone who can visualize actually utilizes visualization. Sometimes drawing ideas come to me as mental visuals, but that's about it. And that's not an essential part of the process for me. I get my work done by just reacting to what's on the page. I think it would be a very bad idea to let aphantasia sort of take up any time in your head as sort of a reason not to draw or to think you're at a disadvantage or anything like that. It's like, if you're wondering if you're disadvantaged somehow in art, you are. Everybody is. That's just like an arbitrary way to think of yourself. It's like, you have advantages that no other artist has, and every other artist has some advantage that you don't have. It's like, don't think about it. Don't worry about it. Tarka says, really? Most of my best pieces come to me nearly fully formed. The vibe and general look of the piece is there. Yeah, I mean, everybody has different processes, but it's like, obviously, if you're an artist with aphantasia, that can't be your process, right? And I think that people who have aphantasia think that that's a problem, but it's like, no, it isn't. Everybody's process is completely different. For Tarkus, some of his best pieces come fully formed, and that's just Tarkus's life. Me, I never visualize. I can, and I just don't use it. It's not part of my process. So there's the full spectrum in between. Anon. How do you actually pronounce Anon? How big of a connection between negative emotions and the outcome of a piece do you think there is? Like the piece, for me, I notice sometimes when I feel worse or feel anxiety, the work I put out is worse to me. Or sometimes the negativity can show itself through the pen or pencil strokes. I mean, there's a connection if you allow there to be a connection. Being a commercial artist taught me that connection is invented, is arbitrary. It must be. But, I learned that by having it hammered out of me. I had to see many hundreds of thousands of times at work that I could produce work to the necessary quality with any given feeling in the work, no matter how I felt that day. So you only have to do that, you only have to do that a few times, maybe a few hundred times, before you have to not ignore that anymore and admit that, no, the internal emotions don't necessarily dictate what's going to come out. That's necessary if you're going to be a professional, but or a commercial professional, but it's not necessary for everybody's art practice. Some people's art practice is going to go the exact opposite way. They're going to need the emotions in there because that's what gives it the charge that they need to be excited about their work. So it really is up to you. How important do you want the emotions to be in your practice? Anything's on the table. Art is completely structureless. Doggeroni says, thank you. Always relieving to hear someone just say, don't worry about it. Been having a lot of fun just making stuff lately, and a lot of that is thanks to finding this channel. Killing lots of demons. I'm very happy to hear that. and happy to help. Today you killed some of my demons too, says Miguel. That's what we do here. We slay demons. A friend reminded me recently that I said this to them a while ago. I think it's appropriate. May all your demons stay on the page. He told me that. He asked me, do you remember saying that or writing that to me? I said, no, but I got to use it again. That's a good one. I just love doing scales on reptilian creatures. I could just waste time doing that forever. And I did, yay! Mel, how are you? How you doing, Mel? All right, let's leave that guy like that. Let's do another sketch. I don't know how long I was doing that. Do I want to do another weird skin tone thing or a regular skin tone? I wish it would cool down so I could open my damn window. I'm trying to vibe, you know? Voldemort's cooler older brother. Yeah. Glad to hear you're living, Mel. What else can we do but live? I want it now, I want it now. What else can we do but live? Don't open the window, that's how the demons get in. But I see a breeze kicking up out there. How I miss the breeze. Karem says, Stephen, I need to study drawing in a certain way with given prompts for the art school exam here. I don't think I suck at it, but I do study less than I want to. Since these prompts are not of my interest, it's hard for me to commit so much time into something that doesn't excite me. Any advice? Sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and do it. You know? Wish I had a better answer, but it's like, when you're in school, it's like you're in school for a reason, right? I mean, you chose to be there, or you want to go into those kinds of programs. I'm a very mushy-gushy guy, but I've also taught at art schools and things like that, and there's just there's a time and a place, and that's the time and the place to bite the bullet and just get it done. Sometimes you can set aside a period where you, like, even literally just like an hour. Like, let's say, all right, I've got to do this piece. I needed to do the exam. I have 16 hours to do the piece. I'm going to set aside 1 hour of the 16 hours. So I'm still going to have 15 hours to work on it. But I'm going to set aside 1 hour at the beginning just to think of a way to make it personally interesting to me. And you can try that. But when you're on a limited time scale, when there's a lot of constraints, even that, a lot of times, is just not going to do it. And you just got to bite the bullet and muscle through. You know, just get the exam done. Get into school. Hello, Stephen, says Tumas. I was curious and decided to not learn art and instead draw with what I can do for a few months. But all I found was emptiness or even boredom. Is this a common experience? Learning art to get good was one of the main motivations, but I don't know what. Learning art to get good was one of the main motivation, but I don't know what for now. What for now? What for now? I'm kind of lost, but can't drop the idea of drawing for some reason. It's okay to, well, I mean, like, what made you lose the desire to get good, you know? Wanting to draw well, wanting to draw beautifully is a beautiful thing. As long as you have it in balance. Maybe now that you've taken a break from it, if you sort of recommit yourself to it with vigor, you'll find that it sort of has a more balanced quality. I don't know. What made you step away from sort of quote unquote drawing to get good? Did you feel like you were out of balance? It sounds like you didn't get any purchase on like doing projects either. You definitely want to do that. I mean, if you found emptiness or boredom once you left behind drawing just to get good, I mean, when you do that, you got to do your projects. You got to do designs or make your comic book or make your big paintings or your big drawings and stuff like that. You got to attempt them. And it's part of the practice that you will need to, it's your responsibility to make those as interesting as possible. Like if you're bored by those, that should be your number one, that's like the number one priority for something to figure out in your art practice. Why are you bored by your dream? You know? It was becoming the only thing I did. Yeah, that's not good. Projects. Projects. Projects first. If you're doing your projects, then you can sort of happily let yourself do some studying as long as the projects are foregrounded, you know? I feel like there is no reason to get good. Yeah, that's the boredom. If you feel that way, then right now there isn't. I mean, that's sort of self-evident in the problem, right? If you feel that way, then yeah, that's true. As long as you feel that way. You need to manufacture a reason to be good. You need to make your dream more exciting. That's part of the art. That's not something the world is going to hand to you. Sometimes it does, but really the world is under no obligation to do so. It just becomes part of the artistic process to keep re-inspiring yourself. And you have to be creative about it. Oh no, is Ultra Instinct Shaggy? I like that. Now that I like. Hey Stephen, on a recent Q&A you said that you do design stuff when you're not inspired, which broke my mind. Is there any design exercise that you recommend for starting out? If you've never played around with design before, do your favorite thing. You know, if you love video games, try designing video game levels, try designing video game characters. Like, you want something that you have some familiarity with so that you have design criteria for it. But design should be driven by a genuine interest. So yeah, pick something that you're interested in and just don't look for rules, just go design it. If you really need a place to start, something that I often recommend that's just so general is just design vases. It's like just take a sketchbook page and say the sketchbook page is going to have 3 lines on it. And each line is going to have 5 vases on it, so you're going to do 15 vases on the page. And just try to make each vase different from the last one. Very simple. Vases, urns, whatever floats your boat. If you do 200 of these and you try to make it so you never repeat yourself, you will very quickly have an intuitive sense of what it means to do design as pure problem solving. It's not about inspiration. It's about what came before, what is the power of an iteration, and looking for different modular units to slot into specific asks and design criteria. It's like it's all in there. It's all hidden in the vase. Goodbye, Daryl. Are you using a screen tablet? What do you prefer and for what purpose? Yes, I am using a screen tablet. I think the screenless tablets are better for most people. Dizzy B says, "Hi, Steven. I used to watch your streams when I was in high school, and you were on Twitch. I don't draw anything like you, but your def weave tight into my ethos." Nice. Cool to have a old Twitch watcher on here. It was 1,000 years ago. I guess it was probably like 7 or 8 years ago. That might as well be 1,000 years at my age. It's like a whole era of life. It's not like, it just is a whole era of life. Well, I want it now. Goodbye, Anirudh. We're at just about 3 hours here. I think I'm gonna get going soon. I feel like I really want to play fetch with my dog before the light goes away completely. It's like there's still just a little bit of light outside, but Jesus. It's 8:30, it's still 85 degrees here. At least it's cooled off a little bit, so I could play some fetch with her. Because she hasn't been getting much fetch in the heat. I don't feel... My sister's dog died from heat stroke a couple years ago, and ever since then, I'm like... It traumatized me. I can't... He was a young man. Young man. Big, strong bull, too. Heat got him. Ever since then, I'm like, whenever it's hot out, I'm like, no fetch for you. I can't. I know she'd be fine in most situations, but for me, I'm like, it freaks me out. It stresses me out. Oh, how young we were. Steve, do you remember when we used to frolic? Says Theo. Those were the days. Well, I remember we would stroll along your fissure of Rolando when I held your brain in my arms. I miss how we would stroll down your vestibular canals and how we would go swimming in your ponds. The music you would play us on your Lotus Corellius still tickles my neurons. And I'm sorry that I dropped you, that I accidentally plopped you when I held your brain in my arms. What is that from? That just got summoned up from the depths of my memory. Is that from The Simpsons? I want to say that's from The Simpsons. What is that from? Why is that in my head? That's got to be like Simpsons or like Mystery Science Theater or something like that. Heat stroke is no dope. No, it's not. You got to protect your doggies. That's for sure. Jonko Grow says, hey, Stefan, sorry for sad Slavic English. What can I do more if I want to live off my creative work, such as like illustration, image making? I already work every day on my art, so what can I do as a 17-year-old? Oh, I mean, you're so young. If you're that young and you know you want to live off of your work like that, just focus on you. I mean, if you're going to wind up an illustrator, an image maker, like in a commercial capacity for other people, you could do that anytime later. Like, just focus on your own voice. Take the time, because it's so rare to have time in your life to just explore and figure out what's inside of you and how you want your images to look and to like find the things that resonate with you. It is so hard to find time to do that as an adult with responsibilities and taxes to pay and people to support and things like that. Very, very rare to have time like that in life. Do it while it's easy. Do it while it's easy. The people who find a way to support themselves off their work fast, early, almost always they're able to do that. Like when a young buck comes roaring out the gate and they get famous at like 19 or something like that, it's almost always because they happen to find something uniquely them very early on. It's rarely because they're hitting a very familiar, very boring level very early. It's like, that's impressive, but it's not really energizing enough for people to sort of make a career off of that fast, you know, to live off of that fast. The thing that goes farthest for people is, wow, you know, they really have a strong voice that stands out, that's uniquely theirs, you know. I would focus on that. You've got your whole life to get caught up and obsessed with what other people want you to do and who other people want you to be and what other people want you to pay for or want to pay you for, and to make the money that other people wish you were making. You've got the whole rest of your boring fucking life to do that. When you're young, take advantage. Take advantage and find you. Before anybody cares. No one expects you to be able to make money or to nail it or to be consistent or anything like that right now. Just take advantage of that. My dog is stirring. She's like, now about that fetch you mentioned. Alright, I am going to go before it gets too dark, even though I'm having fun painting this silly guy right now. It's fun to make the art. It's fun to make art. What a glorious day, I'm arting again. I think I have sad medieval peasants on the mind because I'm listening to the Pillars of the Earth again. You don't look too sad though, I want to put a little smile on him. Awkward peasant haircut. The bowl cut. The long bowl. Yeah, it's silly. Silly's good. Steven, have you ever tried potato smack molasses? No, and I'm offended that you asked me that. I'm offended. Baby, baby, baby. I'm offended. On a dark desert highway. I'm so offended. I am very offended that you would ask me that. All right, everybody. I got to go. Peace. Happy drawing. Wish me luck with dog fetch. And I will catch you all very soon. Very, very soon. Goodbye to Boomy. Goodbye to Games by Mark Wolf. Goodbye to Tarkus O. Goodbye to Will Gara. Goodbye to Zurus Walker. Goodbye to Karem Aldemir. I'm seeing a lot of questions, and I'm sorry that I am not going to make it to them. I'm trying to run to the dog park before it gets completely dark outside. Sorry. Sorry, I'm seeing these questions. I'm sorry I can't get to them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Jamil says, song by Mystery Science Theater. I knew it was something like that. That was a real blast from the past. All right, everybody. Peace.